think they're a little shy. Thank you guys. It's super rewarding to see this warm reaction. Thank you, thank you. So who wants to start with the question?
So I'll repeat the question so everybody can hear it. Yeah, there's a whole balcony.
I saw it. Yeah, hi. Is there a question in the back of the balcony? I saw a hand up. No? Anyone have a question to start off? Right over there.
What inspired you to make this movie?
I came from a mixed family, and my brother had a son, my nephew, also in a mixed family, mixed marriage. And one side of my family is Jewish, the other is Catholic. So when my nephew was born, my brother was worried about he losing his contact with his heritage, and suggested me to do a DVD about music, about Jewish festivals. And at the time, I didn't like the idea very much, because every time there is a religious war, I feel terrible. So he told me, you're a filmmaker, you need to look things on an open way, not with prejudice. So I found a book that I really recommend you guys. It's short, I promise. Anthropologist, that he wrote a book called Transforming the Religious Metaphor. You are that, transforming the religious metaphor. Where he says that, for those who don't know, Campbell spent all his life researching religions, all religions, and he told me that on the book that he was an atheist, but when he had a heart attack, he looked to the cross with Christ and find a different meaning, because it helped him overcome what he was going through. And then he wrote that the problem with religion is when you look religion literally. When you look religion as a metaphor, it's super powerful and can open doors. So for instance, if you look Promised Land as an actual piece of land, you may die and kill for it, but if you see as a metaphor, what should I do to elevate myself, to become a better person? So because of that, I tried to look into my own story, trying to see different meanings, and my grandfathers escaped Europe during the war, so every time that we put the family together, for him was something super special, because he was not only celebrating it was not about the festival itself, but it was about celebrating life. And I thought that was beautiful. So I dived into my story and start changing a few things. So I changed the Catholic side to Palestinian, because I feel a lot of empathy towards the Palestinians. By the way, Lamis is an American-Palestinian screenwriter, pretty cool one, and tough also. And so when I lost my father when I was 10, so as a way of overcoming my grief, I started growing orchids, like any other normal child at 12. And I had an amazing luck to have a great stepfather who loves to cook and steal my food as well. So to pay a tribute to him, I changed this. And I also love New York and Brooklyn so much, because it has a huge diversity. For those who've never been there, I really recommend. It's pretty cool. So that was the inspiration.
Do we have any other questions? Yeah, up in the back. I'm just going to repeat it just to be sure everybody heard it. What would you suggest to anybody who is an aspiring screenwriter or director, or who's interested in working on?
I'm gonna start and then pass the word to Lem. The first thing is like cameras and editing software are super accessible to most of the kids. Obviously not to the poor ones, but a lot. I believe a lot of you have a cell phone that has a camera and maybe has access to a computer in your school, in your home. So the first thing is like do movies, film, and don't be embarrassed to show if they are not good, because for those who made it, they are never good, you know? Then study screenwriting is the most important thing. There are a few books that really helped me. One is called A Story by Robert McKee. It's almost a cliche to say that because everybody who's in film school heard about this book, and it became such a cliche, but the book is so good that they did a movie called Adaptation, which is about a writer who is struggling to adapt a novel, and he reads McKee's book, and then suddenly McKee became a character in the movie, which is really funny. So I suggest Robert McKee's book. There's another one that I really like, which is The Moral Premise, which every film, every story has something to say, so it's very important for you to know what you're trying to say with this. And this book explores this idea very much. Also, read lots of screenplays. Try to be careful on the internet. There's something called transcripts. Transcript is just a dude that type. So usually the best screenplays, they are Academy nominated, and on the awards campaign they distribute the script. So it's also a good opportunity. And finally, guys, we're in Utah, so Sundance is here. So if you take the most of the festival, don't be embarrassed to approach artists after screenings and talk to them and ask. At first, you're gonna feel butterflies in your stomach, but when you did like for the 10th time, it will be awesome, and you can have lots of good advice. So now I think Lamise can take.
I want to ask you guys a question. Are there any? I want to do like a demographics. Any Jewish people in the audience? Cool. Any Muslim people in the audience? Arab, Middle Eastern, Asian, South Asian, Black American. We have a really diverse group here, yeah? I want to know, I'm from a Palestinian background. My folks came to the United States a long time ago. So I grew up sort of in two cultures. So I kind of want to know from you guys what you saw in the film that maybe reflects you, your life, what resonated for you, or what made sense for you. Does anyone want to share that? Cool. 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 That's awesome. Kids, anyone want to share? Yeah. Definitely love to eat. For sure, food can bring people together. Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah, how religions can connect. Just different religions in our house and how they connect in different ways. Yeah, or fight. I think what you said is it was interesting to watch how different religions sort of work together in one household, or they fight, or they sort of try to connect over things, right? Yeah, that's true. It's not always easy.
There was someone there. Change your mind. Okay.
And I don't where. Is there another hand up somewhere? Oh, in the very back. Go ahead.
Can I ask you about your cinematography? Obviously, you had to find people to make the food. How difficult was that to find the celebration of different foods?
How difficult was it to find somebody to make all the different types of food and the celebration of foods?
I think Claudia is the best person in charge to answer that. Yesterday she was talking about rehearsal with the food. It was pretty funny. Research.
Anyway, there are like different moments of this working with the food. There is a very nice work researching food, and we even went to Israel and Palestine and talked to different people, trying to understand what's the meaning involved and symbolic traditions or ways or to cook, and how sometimes the same ingredient have different meanings for Palestinians and or mainly religious different meanings. So for Muslims and Jewish people, how they fast in different ways, and try then to incorporate all this information with the script writers in the scene so it could go inside the dialogues. And then when we go shooting, then it's more a practical challenge. And then we had an amazing food stylist, Michelle, and we are cooking a lot, of course, for each scene. So for example, we have to do many times the same thing. So then they eat something, and then we have to reset everything from zero. And so we have 8 turkeys and things like this. A lot of food.
Something interesting is that in the past I used to direct advertising. So do you guys remember those amazing chocolate ads that you see the chocolate falling into milk? It's paint. Yeah, so every time you are watching an advertising, it's bullshit, it's not food. Yeah.
So always something else. Motor oil instead of maple syrup.
Does any of the cast like to cook? Do you guys like food?
Noah was eating the whole time during the shooting because he was growing. So he was eating, tasting. And there was a funny story also on the set that even though it's a food movie, it's super low budget, so they cut the
services.
the money for good food.
Catering. Yeah.
So the catering was awful. Mark Margolis said, "How much are you spending per meal? 99 cents?" And then one day, Seu Jorge, who plays Chico, he has this kitchen, and nobody can take that food anymore. And every time we set a scene, we have something called continuity. So the objects should be in exactly the same position, the wardrobe must be the same. So all the crew went to lunch, and so Jorge looked to all this food in the kitchen and started cooking some pasta and took all the set out of continuity. So when she came back, she had an heart attack almost.
No, and then some people from the crew and the photographer, decided like, oh cool, let's eat this food here in this amazing set, and the craft is so bad. And I was like, oh, come on people, you work with movies, you cannot get inside the set and eat the whole food. It was like so bad. He did, not for me, that had to be good.
Yeah, up in the balcony.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, do you mind repeating?
I said I really enjoyed the movie.
Thank you.
First of all, what was the hardest challenge you faced when you were developing creating?
What was the hardest challenge you faced while you were developing?
In all
creating the
honesty,
movie?
money. It's super hard to fundraise for film. No, there's this is a tough challenge, money to fundraise. But there are other challenges that, for instance, is such a huge responsibility to tell a story that deals with the Middle East conflict, and especially Israel and Palestine. And we didn't want to send an idea that, just have a meal and it'll be fine, So it's like, I really believe that food can bring people together. Like when you have a fight, instead of texting, if you have a decent meal, dinner, nice music, maybe cook something for the other person, it's much easier to set. But by no means we are suggesting that let's solve the Middle East problem with hummus. It's not that. And Lamis was super worried and helpful and talented on this, so maybe you can tell a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's, you said it, you don't want to sort of create this idea that, we can solve everything with a meal, which is because then that doesn't really feel honest at all, but that it really becomes about Abe. Once the family realizes he's gone, it's like, we really need to think about how we're behaving. So it becomes about them. Not that they're ever going to get along forever and everything's going to be great with them, but that they can focus on him and what he's good at, because he's a mix of the two. And so being from two different cultures, you can incorporate that and understand both sides of the peoples and where they're messing up and where they're good. And you can be probably the best voice for all of it. So, yeah. So we had some fights. We had a lot of arguments. But in the end, that's what a collaboration is. You kind of come through those ideas.
But I also, from a film viewer perspective, I think the way you address the larger issue in the film is really accessible for younger audiences. It's such a complicated issue, like the conflict, that this gives some insight into just how complicated it is, but without being too heady and getting too into the weeds. So I think it's a great representation to introduce people to the challenges that are part of the conflict. So we got a few more minutes. So lots more questions. Go ahead, Rick. Oh. How did you all meet?
Okay. Honestly, she's my sister. So that's so that's how we met. And we are not brothers from the same father and same mother, which is the son of my stepfather, that I consider my father, so I consider her sister. Yeah. So when she's mad with me, she doesn't consider me a brother, but when she's cool, she does. and she has also a very diverse background. She's Californian, Estonian, Finnish, Italian, and Brazilian. And also Jake, who's the other screenwriter who's not here, he's American, Palestinian, Mormon, and Muslim. He has all these together.
Yeah, he's from Utah too.
Utah, yes.
I think he went to BYU as well. Is that right? Yeah. So Utah connections.
Yeah. So the first screenwriter that I met was Christopher Vogler, who wrote a cool book called The Hero's Journey, based on Joseph Campbell's work. I got in contact with him, so we worked together, and we realized that we need someone who had first Chris recommended me another screenwriter called Blake Snyder. Was tough because I fundraised over lots of time with friends, lots of money, and we start working with Blake, and on the second day we had a meeting, he died, and because of bureaucracy we lost our funds. So then we started working with Chris, and then there is a very cool New York producer called John, who I had the luck to mentor me. So this is also a good advice for those who want to be a filmmaker. Like, everybody who work in film started someday and someone helped them. It's almost impossible, so don't be shy to approach a filmmaker and say, hey, can you help me? Because I did this and literally made this movie possible. So John set us a meeting with a German director called, I don't know if you ever heard that, Sandra Nettelbeck, who directed a movie called Mostly Martha about food. And she told me that I was half Jewish, half Catholic, and I would never had the expertise to write without someone who has the heritage from Brooklyn, from Palestine, from the Arab world. So John keep looking for writers. But then he read on the New York Times that Lamis and Jake wrote a beautiful play, and she also an actress on the play called Food and Father that talks about food also and the Middle East, and we felt they were perfect for the project. So then since we never met, I tried to convince her that I would be super respectful. And after 2 years, I convinced her, working together. Okay, 3 years. So,
yeah. 13 years, right, is when it took you from visualizing this film to what we're seeing today. Is that right?
Yes. Maybe this also have advice for other aspiring filmmakers here, which is 13 years ago, I had very little director experience, only advertising, and I aimed so high, directing something that was not in my language, deal with a culture that was not me. So I took this time because it take a lot of time to raise this money, to find resources, to meet the people, but also because I was aiming too high and trying to talk about the reality that was not mine, like Brooklyn and the Arab world. So there's a writer that I forgot the name that recommends that when you start for something that you know about, your reality. So maybe that trauma that you had in the past or are still having could be a good opportunity for you to write something that you had the moral authority to write because you're experiencing that. And the cool thing about art, for those who want to be an artist, is that when you write something that is about a trauma or write a story or make a film, it could be also an amazing opportunity to overcome this trauma, to elaborate the feelings and to put it to word, images, pictures, and then look it back and say, no, it's gone.
That's great, Fernando. Thank you. Sorry we don't have time for any other questions, but on behalf of the festival, on behalf of the audience here, Fernando, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, last thing. We have an Instagram of the film called Abe. If you guys want to write something or make drawings, we usually post the drawings of the film that our audience sent. And I also have a YouTube channel that I share there all the process of the film, from script, shooting. It's my last name, Gross de Andrade. The majority of the videos are in Portuguese, but the videos about the process of making Abe are in English. Sorry, are in Portuguese with subtitles. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you all.